Okay, this lesson for our Koine project class, I'll title it Creation for Commoners. Some input was gathered yesterday from a source that demonstrated an occurrence of pi. We noticed in Genesis 1:1, pi was the value of the entire text, and this was the the Hebrew of it. Of course, we wrote it out. Now, this is a language class, so if you're not into that, and I'm not into the language, it's as I like to say, it's into me. So I'm interested in working it and finding what we can. Sheath, and this is in beginning. Sheath in beginning, and then the data I'm providing at the end or toward the end is that additional information about pi, as we'll notice in just a moment, ba ra. And then you notice these first three letters here, same three letters there in beginning, ba ra, and then of course Elohim. Those are your Masoretic vowel pointings there. They're real important when you're taking a test. You can just continue iterative practice, and then of course here's the sign of the direct object when the object is definite. So this is eighth. So we have in beginning, he created. And we have God. Sorry about the sloppy writing. And then, of course, we have definite article ha, shama, mayim. The heavens. We have the conjunction eighth, of course. Now we have another direct object that's definitive. So the heavens and haaretz. There we go. There, the heavens and the earth. And remember that value, when tabulated, and I had that yesterday, I included that, but it was real fascinating because it was to take the number of letters times the product of the letters, then take the number of words times the product of the words, and that equaled the number pi, 3.14 ... So we had that, and then we remembered, so now we have in Genesis 1:1 we had pi, in John 1:1 we have e, and then of course John 1:1 is in RK, in beginning. Remember, this is our language class, so we'll work through it. Some of you just want the results, which is fine. That's true of everything. I know a fellow who wants to really be strong and bodybuilder type, but he hates working out. So I told him how interesting it is how we want the results of a process we despise. So in beginning was the Word, and that was being, and that was always being. The Word was being in beginning, and hologos or logos, the Word, and was being pros. Now this is good for your practice. You remember John's Gospel, easy, repetitive, grammar, vocabulary. Genesis 1:1, so many implications about creation. So toward, being toward, ton, theon, the God, Kai and Kai, And then we have the anarthrous use of theos, God. Ain again was being, logos, the word. Now this is where the controversy about the anarthrous use here. It's a preverbal anarthrous noun. So we'll just address that text and have an entire video about it. So we learned here, however, E. So we had 3.14. We have pi in Genesis 1:1, E in John 1:1. E equals 2.71828. 1828. And you remember the degrees in that triangle we were taught in as children. So there, we had that. So we were looking for E again, and that's when we noticed, and I'll write it out, what Dr. John Penn's, his research. You remember in young Earth assertion, young Earth creation, there are those from 6 to 20,000 years. And of course, we noticed a difference of that 14,000 total. So we began with the difference. We took it in half. So we started with 7,000 and we went all the way back to 6. So we went from 6,000 years approximately, and we took it in 250 year increments. So as soon as we did the first one, and Dr. Penn made it clear that that's at 12 hours per day. And this was very easy since all we had to do is take the 6,250 at 12 hours night. And of course, we fell in the young Earth assertion as far as chronological years. So we were very much unsurprised now as we continue to look back. And that's at 24 hours. And then we noticed when we did the 1 day to 1,000 years, that's a ratio. Well, pi is also a ratio. Pi is a ratio of the circumference divided by the diameter. So we'll look at that in just a moment. But it's a ratio, and that's very fascinating because we were looking and trying to understand, because this is a ratio, 1 day to 1,000 years, 1,000 years is a day. So we multiplied it by a 360-day year. So we did it by 360 days. And then that gave us the 4.5 million days. And then, of course, we just multiplied that by the 1,000 years. And it gave us 4.5 billion years. Remember, science isn't allowed to notice, as theologians were in centuries ago, like a Leibniz, a Newton, even Archimedes, whatever he was. But these theologians developed calculus, for example, and they wrote books on theology. So they were free to study this. So now we go back 1,000 years to a day. So we take 4.5 times 1,000 days this time. 1,000 years is like a day. So we're reversing this. 4.5 times 1,000 days. We noticed that was approximately 2.78 360-day years. And of course, that we noticed is very much our E that we were looking for, and that equaled 12.5 billion years. Now that's the, as we like to call it, or Dr. Penn does, the accrued amount of decay, compound decay, and a little leaven leavens a whole lump. So now we have our geological age, Earth 4.5, universe 12.5 billion, and that's measuring decay, of course. Science will tell you, they're free to say that 2/3 of matter's dark matter, 2/3 of energy is dark. That's a polite way of saying dead. And then we notice chronological age. We had demonstrated that young Earth creation assertion of chronological age was correct and fell quite easily into that 12,500. Now, the issue of what was it about night and day, there's actually research, and I'm still trying to get that from Dr. Penn. He has things filed away, but they didn't count nighttime. That's fascinating. But you can work on that. We'll look at that some other time or anytime you'd like. And then, of course, all of this supports the genealogical records are all supported. So we're free to study this. Now, scientists aren't. They have to avoid that. But what's really fascinating is when we took the name, let's say we take the name in Greek, Jesus Christos. Well, the numeric value of that is 754. No, sorry. The numeric value of that is 2368. 2368. The numeric value of that is 2368. I'll clean this up here, give us some work room here. And then if we take the word, let me see, Yeshua HaMashiach, yeah, let me see, let me spell that correctly. Yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. That's Joshua. And then we have Hamashiach. There we go. Hamashiach. So we have Jesus, Messiah in Hebrew, and that equals 754. And then to remind you that diameter is the distance here, so that would be 754. Their circumference is 2368. And to just do simple arithmetic, 2368 over 754, we'll just go this way. Since I have space, you'll find it's 3.14. It's the value of pi. So we're building a much better case as we notice now Genesis 1:1 pi. We have John 1:1 e. We found e in the ratio. It's in the letter Peter wrote. 1 day is 1,000 years, 1,000 years is a day. So we found e there. And now we have found the ratio from Genesis, the ratio, because it's circumference divided by diameter. And we found that value in the name Jesus Christ Greek and that relationship Jesus Christ, Jesus the Messiah Hebrew. So we found the ratio pi there. So we're starting to really shore up our rationale and notice the Bible's knowledge of creation and how a commoner can take just some easy language block Hebrew and word this out, notice this, if you don't even use a calculator, you can use a pencil and piece of paper. But this is it. We've found even larger matters. Now I'll put this is from The Proof is in the Pie by Leo Tavares, and I'll put a link to his website. So you have a blessed day. Enjoy this lesson, but this is creation for commoners.